Hi everybody, Courtney Robinson here, and I wanted to go over the protocol that I'm using to heal my long COVID, and I am 11 weeks in. I've had, I don't even like to talk about it because it makes me short of breath immediately. My most severe symptom is shortness of breath, weakness, fatigue. I just don't have the stamina. I was very athletic prior to this, and I was doing about 300 minutes of exercise a week, which is about an hour every day, a little more than an hour every day. It didn't always work out like that because a lot of times on the weekends I would do long hikes, but I have not been able to do that since. I got back to it a little too quick after having COVID, trying to do too much, and that created actually a problem where my immune system attacked itself, and it caused irritation in my heart, a little bit of enlargement, and my right aorta has elevated pressure because of the enlargement, and my lungs have just basically seized up. I had a pleural effusion, but it has gone away. I did not have a bad case of COVID. I had what would be considered a moderate case. I didn't feel good. I had chest pain. I had headache. I was extremely tired. I slept about 11 hours a day. I didn't feel like getting up and doing much. The fatigue was really bad. But beyond that, I have runny nose and sore throat. I just didn't have a lot. And about day 9, I started feeling normal again. And for the next couple of weeks, I tried to get back into doing my routine. And that was the main thing. I noticed that I could not keep up. So generally I was doing like anywhere from 7 to 20 minutes of HIIT workouts 5 days a week. And I noticed pretty quickly I could not do more than 4 minutes. I also walked on my treadmill, and I started to notice that I could not raise my speed. I had to do really low speed, and I had to cut my time. And so it just progressively got worse. And on my 50th birthday, which was a month and 4 days after my positive test, I wanted to go hiking. And my husband and I were hiking, and I chose this trail I'd never been on before. And it wasn't bad, but it was kind of up a little hill. And I remember telling him, like, I don't think I can get more than 15 minutes from the car because I'm afraid to, because my breathing is so bad. And I started having to I was keeping my inhaler in my pocket all the time because I was struggling with my breathing. So that's when I realized something was going on. And here we are now, January 21st, and I'm not a whole lot better. I am getting somewhat better. People ask me all the time if I'm getting better, and I'm not a complainer. I'm a health nut. I love to exercise. I am whole food, plant-based. I'll talk about that in a minute. I am like a normal weight. I do have some underlying conditions, RA and asthma, but they were controlled. And I didn't need an inhaler for 4 years prior to this. So I've been to the pulmonologist. I've been checked for blood clots. I've had CT scans. I've had all kinds of tests done, echocardiogram. That's why we know I had the pleural effusion. It seems to have gone now. It's not uncommon with people with long COVID to have shortness of breath and have clear lung scans. I did develop bronchitis after this. I do think it's from the COVID. And so let me tell you what I've done in the pharmacology, in the realm of pharmaceutical drugs. I am on Atrovent. I am on Advair. Singulair is a pill I take at night. I am on a nebulizer of my rescue inhaler and a nebulizer, my brain albuterol. I take a thyroid medicine daily anyway, but some people have had thyroid problems develop from COVID. I already had thyroid disease that have already had half my thyroid taken out, so I was on that anyway. In the realm of over-the-counter drugs, I read about this therapy with what happens is your histamine and your immune function are connected. Your white blood cells, your histamine, your immune function. And your histamine has a direct impact on your immune function. When people are getting too much histamine, it causes a inflammation response that is too much. And that's what happened to me. And it will attack you. And it's like autoimmune on crazy overdrive. And seems to be very common in younger, not that I'm younger at 50, but it is common in younger or very fit people. Like, it doesn't kill us, but the immune system attacks us. And so over the counter, I had read to take a 1 and a 2 antihistamine, which is basically Zyrtec and Pepcid. I take 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 1 of each in the morning, 1 of each at night. I also have gone on a low histamine diet because the studies that are out there show that people who do a low histamine diet have the best results. I'm going to talk about the food I eat in a minute. My natural supplements. So I take a B12 or a B vitamin every other day with B12 because I am vegan, and so I don't eat meat, so I have to supplement. Most vegans do. I also take a multi, not every day because I eat super healthy, but I also add in zinc, niacin, selenium, nicotinic acid, which is niacin. You want the nicotinic acid, not the other one. Quercetin, and C. I take those 3 times a day, and D3. You can look online and find these because there is a guy, he is an engineer in Sweden, and he has a channel called Run DMC. He was a runner, and that is where I would go or join the online COVID groups. There's a ton of information in there about what they call the vitamin stack. The other thing with I want to talk about exercise, and we'll go back to the diet. About week 10, I started to read some stuff about people who have developed asthma-like symptoms, COPD type symptoms, weakness, and they are showing, and I had watched a bunch of documentaries and noticed, like in Germany, I actually work in lifestyle medicine, and we have an intensive cardiac rehab program, and I noticed that it was very similar for COVID patients because they have like rehab programs over there for long COVID. And I noticed what they were doing was very similar to what we do. So I started out with short walks, about 5 minutes at a time. What I have noticed is some days I can go longer, but I have to go really, really slow, like 2 miles an hour. I was up to almost 4 miles an hour before. I'm short, so that was almost running. But I can go about 2 miles an hour. Some days I can go 5 minutes. Some days I can go 35 minutes. Sometimes I have to stop. And I just listen to my body. Like if I start feeling really weak, I stop, I get a breath if I feel like I can go on, but I do not push myself. The other thing I'm not doing is I'm not allowing my heart rate to get too high. I do very mild yoga and walking. And this is week 3 that I've been doing, or maybe it's week 2.5, I've been doing this. I've started this week doing very small amounts of weightlifting, and I'll talk about that. Very small, 3-pound dumbbells. So what I'm doing there is, like yesterday, I did my 1 set of 10. I did deadlifts with a 3-pound weight. This is not very hard. I did squats, 10 deadlifts, 10 lunges on each leg, 10 standing push-ups against the wall, 10 flies for my back, and 10 overhead presses. Do not do this if you are not feeling you're getting your strength back or you are not physically athletic prior. So that's just a good overall. I'm doing that 3 times a week. It's January. I'll do that till the end of January. In February, I want to get up to 2 sets. And in March, 3 sets. Very slow. Remember, I was extremely athletic prior. So my walking, I'm doing an overall, my goal was to get 100 minutes a week, and that's about 20 minutes 5 days a week, okay, or the cumulatively. So one day it may be 5 minutes, one day it may be 34 minutes, just cumulatively to get up to 100 a week, but also with the understanding that I would not push myself. So I started out about, maybe 4 weeks ago doing like 5 to 15 minutes of yoga, and I could barely do that. And I'm a yoga therapist, so it was very gentle yoga on the floor. I noticed when I went to standing, my blood pressure drops. When I stand up right now, it bottoms out. So I noticed that when I went to standing, my blood pressure was really dropping, and I was getting really dizzy, and I was also getting very out of breath when I did standing. So I stopped doing that. So I've just been doing floor yoga, and at first just a few minutes, At first I wasn't walking, then I worked up to 15 minutes of yoga. So it just kind of alternate. I walked last night and did my weightlifting. I plan on doing a 20-minute yoga video today. And if I work, the other day I had to go to work. I work just 2 days a week right now. Very fortunate because we're not very busy with COVID. If I am tired or I've had a hard day, or like I have a son that has a disability, I've had to go help him. If my body is just like, you're worn out, I stop. I don't work out. That's the other thing I would say, especially if you're a person watching this who was previously athletic. If you're exhausted, just don't do it. Just don't do it. So right now I'm 100 minutes a week. By the end of the month, I hope to be up to 120, and by next month 150, which is the recommendation by the Heart Association, and by March maybe 180. But it will all be gentle. There will not be any HIIT training, because one thing you don't want to do is elevate your heart rate if you have any inflammation in your heart right now. If you have myocarditis, or I don't know if I can say it right, pericarditis or myocarditis, inflammation of the heart, do not raise your heart rate. Gentle exercise. So let's talk about food. I've given you the vitamin stack. I've given you the over-the-counter. I've told you what I'm taking. I have done 2 rounds of steroids. I have done 2 rounds of antibiotics. I have done steroid shot. I've done an antibiotic shot. I don't think they helped me much at all. I didn't feel much improvement. They may have helped me. That seems to be traditional go around for people who are post-COVID. I sometimes feel, I don't know if the albuterol and stuff is helping me. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it's helping me. The other thing I am doing is breathing exercise. Look up, Google pulmonary breathing exercises. The main one is like this. You breathe in as much as you can, and then you blow out through your mouth until you run out of air. Now, because I am stress management, I teach breathing exercises. This is not new for me. So you breathe in, you feel all the way down to your hips. Imagine your breath could go down to your hips because you are working those muscles. Breathe out through your mouth. Through pursed lips. I've noticed when I practice that. So what I do, after I do my exercise, I set my timer for 2 minutes and I meditate, and I notice any distractions and I bring it back to just being at peace. I set my timer for 1 minute and I do those breathing exercises. Then I set my timer for 1 minute and I do my contentment practice or prayer practice. Sometimes I just pray, I give thanks for what I have been given in my life, and then I pray for people who are less fortunate than me, or those who I want to be surrounded with love and care. And that just kind of gives me a sense of peace. I have a whole video on pain management as a yoga therapist. That gives more information if you want to watch that. On the diet. So I am whole food, plant-based, no oil. I don't eat sugar because I have rheumatoid arthritis. I've been treating it naturally for years. And what that has involved is I had already given up sugar, wheat, gluten, dairy, carbonated beverages, and I gave up meat, and now I'm no oil. So I was already used to eating a pretty restricted, clean diet. Fortunately, high histamine foods tend to be foods I don't eat anyway. And so a lot of canned foods, meats, dairy, that was on the list. So I didn't have to give that up. So it wasn't as hard for me. A couple of things I was eating a lot of that were hard for me were green tea, black tea. A lot of people trying to get healthy eat these foods, and they can actually cause more harm for some folks if they're having the cytokine storm. Spinach, bananas, and tomatoes. Okay, those 5 things. I was also eating a lot of canned beans. I would get the no salt and rinse them, and canned tomatoes. I've quit doing that. So I want to tell you some things I've been making that, like today, I just had leftover rice pilaf and an acorn squash, and I had some air fried potatoes and a piece of corn on the cob. I usually might add some broccoli to that. I just didn't feel like it. This morning I had oatmeal with blueberries and blackberries with soy milk and some flax meal. I'm going to make a low histamine Indian rice this week. I have a recipe. You can Google that and it will come up. And I'm going to make, let's see, I had a chickpea curry over cauliflower rice, a rice pilaf, and vegetable would be broccoli. And I also make a vegan gravy with broth, all fat-free or low-fat. Black bean soup made without tomatoes. I like high-carb Hannah's black bean soup. And I'll do a side of like broccoli, or I might steam some kale just to get some greens, because greens help your heart heal and your arteries heal. They help with the nitrous oxide in your heart, and they protect the endothelium, the inner lining, which is really important right now when COVID attacks your arteries and makes them constrict. Tofu scramble. Tofu is one of those iffy kind of things. Some people don't eat it on a low histamine diet. I'm only eating it like once a week. My husband will eat it. I'll add mushrooms, onions, and peppers. Mushrooms are also hard for some people on a low histamine diet. Refried brown rice and veggie cauliflower rice. I will make some brown rice up and you put some veggies in it, and I will do what's called an oil-free fry. I'll use just a little bit of broth, and then the broth will dry out and I'll let it crisp, and I'll be in a nonstick pan. I do not use Teflon. I use some other high dollar pans, and then you flip it and flip it and flip it like a pancake. I also do this with potato. I will saute an onion and pepper, and then the potato, I'll put a little broth in there, let it dry out, crisp the bottom, flip it like a pancake a few times, put the lid on it on low, add a little bit more broth, let it steam to get soft. It's so good. Serve it with a side of broccoli. I eat a lot of potatoes and broccoli or kale or salads. I'm not eating spinach right now. Prior, I did have a lot of spinach. Cauliflower rice with broccoli and my low-fat peanut sauce. I use T. Colin Campbell's peanut sauce recipe made with peanut butter powder, pure. That's another thing that can be tricky for people. Some bothers some, not others. And I also make potato fries a lot, corn on the cob, and a side of veggies. I eat a lot of veggies and starch. So rice, potatoes, and corn will be my starch, oats, and then veggies on the side. I snack a lot on apples right now and berries. You need to limit your citrus. There is a lot of, in the histamine world, there's a lot of miscommunication or misinformation. It's really hard to know. Some people don't say citrus, others do. I am eating a little bit of citrus, maybe one orange a day. Some people do not do well on that. I'm also eating grapefruit out of the plastic container that you get in the produce section. Some people say it's fine, some don't. So it depends what doctor you're looking at. I also buy a brand of cereal and I'm not sponsored, by Nature's Path called Mesa Sunrise. And I'll do that with some berries and soy milk or almond milk unsweetened, and that is really good as well. But you can just Google up low histamine foods, high histamine foods. You don't want to, histamine is important for a good healthy immune system. So it's not that you don't want to have any histamine. It's just that when you have too much, it creates autoimmune. When I was 27, I got what they call post-viral autoimmune fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. I wish I had known this when I was younger, because no one talked to me about it. You get up, I had really high titers. The same thing is happening with COVID in people. And you'll see, if you look it up, they'll say this also happens with Epstein-Barr. I had really high Epstein-Barr titers when I was in my 20s. I was a teacher, and it's really common in kids, and I had apparently never had it. And I was sick for 17 months, like going to rehab sick. Like I was bad sick. And the other thing I have learned is you have to sleep. I take melatonin at night with my Singulair. I tell my husband, unless I have to go to work the next morning, do not wake me up, let me sleep. I have quit reading at night hardly. As soon as I hit the bed, I just go to sleep, because I need more sleep. And back when I was 27 through 29, I remember the doctor writing the prescription, take a nap. And I will say that was one of the things that helped me the most. Take a nap, sleep, rest. Today, half my day got canceled. I'm going to rest a little bit more today. I have to let go of the guilt. I'm a very active person. It's hard for me to sit down and rest, but you have to rest. Sit on your butt, take a nap. I know it's hard for those people like me who are go, 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 go and busy. Pace yourself. I have a little list I keep that tells like all the things I have to do. I'll do a little bit and then I'll back off. Let me give you a few more food ideas before I wrap this up. Burrito bowls. You can just use regular spinach. You can keep the tomatoes out and the salsa out. You can use things like chopped up radishes, onion, cilantro. You want to limit, your sauces, but don't stress about it. I use a little bit of hot sauce. I do a lot of veggie plates, just beans and vegetables and cornbread, tostados. I cook my beans from scratch. You don't want to eat red kidney beans, but like black beans are fine. Split pea soup. I make garlic bread in my air fryer. I just put garlic on top of the bread and put it in the air fryer and it becomes crispy. Grits with like okra, peppers, and onions. Saute the okra, peppers, and onions. Put it on top of the grits. It's kind of like shrimp and grits. You can look up, there is a recipe for a low histamine new potato power bowl. Apple pie shake. You could Google apple pie shake. And then I also make these things called pumpkin bites. You can also Google those. It's just canned pumpkin, unsweetened coconut, and oats, and a little bit of maple syrup. And you just roll it into balls and put it in the refrigerator. So there are all kinds of things you can make. You just have to get creative. And if you'll put your ingredients in your Google search bar and you put low histamine or low histamine recipes, all kinds of stuff will come up. It's even harder for me because I'm low histamine vegan. So it's easier if you eat, if you're not a vegan, even though I think being plant-based is the best way to go, it may be even easier. So don't give up, and I hope this has been helpful. I do think the breathing exercises, the mild exercise, the low histamine diet, and the stack of vitamins is essential. I am getting better at a snail's pace. People will say, are you feeling better? And I'm like, I don't know how to explain that. Like, I have bad days and worse days, and that's not my temperament. I am usually your happy-go-lucky, glass is half full all the time person. I have not had one day that I felt fine in ages, but I have days that are worse than others, and they don't seem to make sense. It's not like I get better and then I just get better. It's like I get better and then I have a bad day or 2 or 3 and then I get better. So I do feel like I am slowly getting better. I'm not at the point of feeling like I need to go to the hospital. So please feel free to share with me any of your ideas, and I will make some notes at the bottom of everything I've said in this. All right, thank you so much. Take care, and thumbs up if you like this.